One second. Okay. So I'm Vian Borchert. I'm the director of VB Contemporary. And today we're going to do a quick gallery tour and walk through where we talk about the artwork that is presented within the reflective exhibition. We have a number of artists in this exhibition. It's a group exhibition. And this is the concept basically behind this group exhibition. VB Contemporary is delighted to open its second virtual exhibition titled Reflective, with a superb number of stellar artists and creators depicting vision on the multitudes of the concept of reflection. At VB Contemporary, a reflective theme allows for each artist to reflect on their surroundings, their atmosphere and their philosophy, and their relationship with the environment and the world around them. Different genres of art, along with various points of view and narratives, are composed together into a cohesive collection showcasing artists from all over the world, such as Chicago, Washington, D.C., New Hampshire, and London, Paris, Spain, the Netherlands, Vietnam, and Peru. The works presented in this virtual group exhibit by accomplished and talented artists offer ponderment on a reflective mood, be it an abstract work of art or a photograph capturing reflective elements. Consequently, the concept of reflection plays a major role in the image's significance, reflecting the creator's disposition and frame of mind. Artists in the exhibition are Jaume Llorens, Arjan Janssen, Karl Bielik, Glenn Wexler, Albert John Belmont, Fernando Dolorier, TamHuy, and Vian Borchert. Curation and concept is by Vian Borchert. The exhibition can be viewed at our website, which is vb-contemporary.com or vbcontemporary.com. Okay, so now we're going to look at, we have today with us artist AJ Belmont, and we're going to start with your artwork, AJ, where you can tell us a bit about yourself as an artist and about your philosophy and your creative process, along with the two works that are exhibited. You can say their name, their title, their medium, whatever you want to say about the work.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be in the show, first of all, and then also to get to talk a little bit about these pieces. So I think, I guess overall philosophy or approach for me has just been simplicity. I've been painting for about 30 years now.
Wow.
And very early on, it became clear to me that the more I could simplify something, the more I felt I could communicate. The busier something was, the more difficult it was for me to get my point across. So it's really been this challenge to take something that's important to me or that I find that I want to communicate and really boil it down to its essence. So in part, it's a puzzle, which is there's some challenge in that and some fun in that, but also it's this need to when there's something that I want to say, to really say it right. And sometimes it takes a long time, and sometimes it goes quickly. And so I think these two examples, I love that they're next to each other. I had them at one point next to each other in my home also. One that took decades to get to, and one that took just about a few months from sketch to finished painting that I was satisfied with. So you focused first on Night Drive number 3. This is the one that took a long time. The first version of this I painted in 1999. And what the feeling that I was going for was I moved out of the city. I lived in Boston. I had moved to somewhere that was more rural, and I had a car for the first time. And this feeling of how quiet it is when to drive at night in a less populated area, to feel very alone, but also rushing through the landscape. And so I wanted to capture that, and I did, and I was like reasonably satisfied with it, I guess. I showed that piece at one point. I still have it. It's not one of my favorite things, but the idea was one of my favorite things. So I drew it again and again. I would sketch it if I didn't know what to sketch. I came back to another painted version in 2015, And then again, more recently, this version number 3 in 2022. And the really the puzzle of boiling it down was to get to its most quiet and aloneness, I guess, of that feeling. And it struck me more recently when I was coming up on a hill and the car in front of me came up in the swoop up the hill, and all I could see was the headlights and the taillights and nothing else.
Wow.
Um, and it's so the simplicity of the color revealed in those two areas of light is what really struck me. And I had junk mail in my car. I pulled over and I drew it out on an envelope and then painted it, and had finished this in a few weeks after that. And it got to that point where I felt like now it's where it was meant to be. So it took a very long time, but it got there. And that's really the goal of most of these pieces.
Yeah, I love it. I think as you said, the simplicity of it is makes the piece. Sometimes the less, the more it speaks. So I liked very much the minimalistic aspect. And I do like the geometry, I have to say, of the work. I like that a lot. It speaks to me. And I think that what I also like about it is there's a lot of stillness to it. As you said, it makes your mind ponder, and it makes you reflect. And I think you gave enough space, room within the artwork that one can just look at it and relax a little bit. It relaxes the eyes, but it makes you also reflect. It makes you think. So it's not busy where you're like, well, where should I look? It's enough, like it's enough lines to give you to keep your eyes moving up, like as if you are on a road, you're on a like journey almost. It For me, it looks a bit like a bridge. Maybe one getting from one thing to another. Maybe you were saying transition from moving to Boston to New Hampshire. So it again, it clearly is reflective of perhaps where you were at that point, and where you're like moving on to. But yeah, and beautiful colors. You've got, the warm colors, you've got the blue colors, you've got the complementary colors, but then you got the beautiful white, which is very soothing, very relaxing. So you're going into a bright future. I feel like I'm a fortune teller looking at the, but it has a lot of good feelings, but also a lot of modern and edgy and minimalistic artistic aspects to it that makes it very, very, very successful, very, very strong piece. Definitely, I love this piece. It has I would say keep it in your private collection. It's definitely a gem. Um, and you want to talk about the second piece also? This has more blues, same colors though, similar colors.
Yeah, there are definitely some color themes the last few years for me, and these blues and pinks are playing their way in through a lot of
Yeah,
things. Um,
beautiful.
well, thank you. So this is titled "A House in New Hampshire."
Mm-hmm.
It's also like Night Drive oil on canvas, which um, most of my work is primarily now. Um, this came from the very beginnings of a series that I have ongoing. I'm calling it Son of 77, but it's more of a visual memoir that
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, the beginning of it was a series of 12 drawings, which I described when I was talking to one of my kids, a teenager who's very much into music. It's sort of
Mm-hmm.
like my concept album, I guess, or,
Oh,
with
nice.
12 tracks or 12 key frames to it that sort of guide through my life. And so this beginning, the beginning drawing for this piece came from that series of 12, which has grown considerably since then. But um, I guess the way I would describe the key frame of this piece is the uh, the concept of a house versus a home. Um,
Wow,
I've
that's good. Yeah.
you know, I've lived in a lot of places. This house that I'm in now in New Hampshire is where I've lived the longest, um, and so it's been less than 6 years, and I moved around a lot before then. But
Wow.
I've always been drawn to this place, to New Hampshire. I vacationed in New Hampshire when I was a child. There was something about it that was soothing and felt like a safe place to me. So as I traveled around, there was always something in the back of my mind, like I'd love to live in New Hampshire. What if I lived in New Hampshire? Maybe something would be different. Um, so it's always held this allure of it being a place of change. Of it's really the nature of it. When I was a kid, I was barefoot and in the woods when I was here,
Wow.
and
Nice.
um, just out and around. I knew every rock in the woods, and I had my friends with me, and so there was something about that that was adventurous and soothing and big. I guess made the world feel
Hmm.
larger. Um, so my take here was to show the house as a house and not so much as a home, and the surrounding as the home. So the house, the shape of the house at the angle is to show that I'm not looking directly at the house. I'm looking up. Um, the house is just occupying a small corner of it. It's in
Yeah.
shadow. The focus is on the reflection of the setting sun in the clouds. The When I first drew this, it was fall. So the colors in the bottom right corner and the little corner on the left are the changing colors of the leaves and the trees. Um, and there's something about being able to walk outside here and just look up that is very grounding to me, and brings me back to that feeling that I had when I was very young of being outside and barefoot and um, exploring. So no matter what's going on with, I mean, the pandemic was fresh in my mind when I first drew this out too, and spending a lot of time in this house and not really being able to get out. Um, so being outside was the way to get out during that time too. So it's, I guess, if we go back to the word reflective, it's reflective in that way too. It's back to childhood. It's back to these times when I um, have been trying to define what a home is for myself. Um, it brings me back to all of those things, and I still, I had this view just this morning. I went outside, walking back up to the porch to get back into the house, and the bigness of the sky, the trees really hits me every time. Um, so that's really what this piece is about.
Yeah, I love it. Again, I mean, I think you captured it beautifully. The idea of not just the how, not where you live in, it's also the surroundings, your environment, your surroundings that actually makes you feel like home too. It's not necessarily, oh, just the house. I feel like, so you have to also feel good about the terrain and the place you're in, kind of the environment you're in. So, and I think when I see this, definitely, it's very clear. The message is very clear, and you do feel good. Uh, and it really shows the vastness also of like and the openness of the land and the joy that you're in because the colors are so light and so like embracing. I think that's the right word. It's very embracing. It's very open. It's very vast. It has a lot of beautiful space and there are a lot of open spaces, even like the shapes itself, the geometric shapes, a lot of V shapes. So a lot of openness to the sky even, and again, very soothing colors. You've got the nice soft pinks and the blues and cerulean blues. Interesting juxtaposition to the house, which is a little bit on the side. Like it's just part of it. It's just part of the big uh, the big picture, right? That's how I see it. It's all a little bit to the side. So it's not necessarily the house. It's more like the house is part of it, but you've got all this other stuff that makes it really a home. And yes, it definitely is very reflective of what you were saying, and how you feel about where you live, where you reside. It's wonderful. I love it. And I also, again, I love the geometry of it. I think that really works beautifully when it comes to the composition. And also, I do see a lot of architecture. Are you into architecture?
A little bit. I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
a novice. I
Engineering?
enjoy architecture,
Okay.
but no, the engineering and the math portion of it would not be my strong point.
I mean, I see it though. I see architecture. I definitely see lots of architectural elements in your work, which is very cool. I like that. I love buildings, and it's actually something we don't really see much of in art, like in museums. When we go to museums, it's mainly just like the cityscapes or the genres of architecture seems to be like very minimal. Because I do think that people can. It's not that easy to make. I think that's what it is. It takes a special eye to make architectural kind of artwork that veers into fine art, and you've captured it beautifully here, and with the other work too. Yeah, I would say definitely the bridges and the roads and the houses and definitely that's your forte. You know, you're very good. You're very good, and again, the colors are very soothing and beautiful and reflective. Thank you. Well, that's wonderful.
Well,
Did you
thank
want to
you.
say other things about these two pieces, or other things about your art practice?
I don't want to. I don't want to take up too much time because I know we have more to
Whatever
look
you want
at.
to say.
But
I mean,
um, I
you can
will. I
speak
guess
for a
I'll.
couple of minutes, and then we'll move on to the remaining artist in the exhibit.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just end with a note. I guess I think that what I have to offer as an artist is really, like I said, rooted in being able to strip things down to a simple
Yeah,
expression or a simple form, and to
that's
leave
good.
behind what my take is on something. It's important to me to be able to offer something, and I feel like that's a perspective I can offer, whether it's a drive or a house or a sleepless night or whatever the moment is that
Yeah.
appeals to me. um, that that method of boiling it down, to communicate it clearly is really the essence of what I try to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I love, that you're talking about your perspective, because actually that's what I want to also mention. The perspective is wonderful in both these paintings. And I do believe also the strength is interior versus exterior. So besides, in my opinion, one of the strongest aspects, the minimalism, that's the geometric aspects of the composition, but you've got a story happening, you've got a narrative. So there's so many things to commend you on. You've got it's very involving, which is wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
So now we'll move on to the painting right next to it, which is Fernando's. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna see Fernando, which is also a different kind of I would say it's a landscape, but it's about a city. And Fernando is an artist from Peru. Um, the title of this painting is called Via Expressa, and it's a mixed media on canvas. So Fernando was born in Lima, Peru. He studied painting at the National School of Fine Arts in Lima, Peru, and his work is in mixed media on canvas as well as recycled surfaces. He depicts a contemporary world in a time of deep complexity. Dolorier's artwork interplay the contradiction between surface and essence, and he has participated in several shows in Lima, Peru, and as well as international galleries. So Fernando states that his work represents the contemporary human being and the time we live in. So it's a chronicle of the present. It shows the mundane, but also what's hiding behind the surface of conventionality. For this purpose, my work is focused, he says, on existentialism and contradiction. So the images might be easy to enjoy, but at the same time, a product of reflecting on contemporary philosophical issues about power, performance, and burnout society, postmodernism, and the liquid times. So a lot of issues involving this wonderful, complex, we can say, artwork. But again, with this painting, what drew me to it as a curator, the colors. I love the colors on this one. It's a night scene. It looks like more like a twilight time. Um, And I also like the perspective, the whole thing with the merging point and into the horizon, driving into the horizon, into almost kind of like the unknown, because we're kind of driving into the darkness. So definitely reflective of so many things. It's definitely a depiction. I'm assuming it's an expressway, highway, but there is a lot of merging lines that bring the eye to kind of almost to the end of the horizon line. So there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of composition aspects that I think really work beautifully in making this piece a very strong. So now we're going to move to Arjan Janssen, who's a Dutch artist. And I love this piece. It's very, very strong. Arjan is a very accomplished artist living in the Netherlands, in Breda in the Netherlands. And he's been doing artwork for a very long time. He studied philosophy. His artwork is actually in Breda Museum in the Netherlands and in many esteemed places. So about Arjan Janssen, born in Eindhoven, the Netherlands, and he resides in Breda. And his work encompasses, Janssen encompasses in his artwork his own probable universe. Janssen's work showcases his individual aesthetics via the usage of structure, stripes, and the lines that bring forth dynamic composition. About this work, Janssen's artwork offers a reflection on architecture where the artist's hand is very much at work. Strong gestural and bold strokes give one the chance to concentrate and look beyond the surface, underscoring a call for attention to what already exists. So there's a lot of, obviously this is very abstract, non-representational, but the emphasis here is on energy and the strength of the artist's hand at work in both of his work. So this one's called Duizend Jaar, which means 1,000 years. And we can go on to the next one. And this one is called You Spit on Those Under 21. And same thing, the philosophy of the strong gestural approach to the artwork. You really feel that the artist's strength and also the colors. A bit of a limited palette, let's put it this way. In a way, it's interesting because I see variations of the same colors that I seem to be kind of liking. So if we're talking about warm colors versus cool colors, we've got the blues, which are my favorite colors. And then some of this here, we've got some strong maroons, some wine colors. And then you've got the white space, which is, again, seems to be kind of a recurring theme here within the artwork presented, but in a very different take and very reflective of the artist's sentiments and philosophy and approach, obviously. Very beautiful work, very strong work, and that really draws one into its, again, movement and emotion and philosophy and strength. So now we move on into Tam's, looking at Tam's work. So the first piece by Tam is called Blue Silence. So there seems to be, again, a recurring theme here of the silence and the importance of how silence can actually, just sitting with silence and being still can really be, well, very good for reflecting and very good of, seeing where you are in the world and how you feel, especially if you're an artist. So this is called Blue Silence, and it's an acrylic on canvas painting. So about TamHuy, he's a contemporary artist who is recognized for his unique style of gestural painting. He's originally from Hanoi, Vietnam, and he moved to Paris in 2012, where he currently resides. So in Paris, he attended l'École des Beaux-Arts de Versailles, and TamHuy employs a very musical and poetic approach to his paintings, creating lightness and a sense of infinity that speaks to the universal art and the timeless. Moreover, TamHuy meditates and sings peaceful Buddhist songs called mantras that help him let go of the ego and creates where he can create freely. He states that his art is a way to navigate towards inner search, for a better version of himself. He is deeply a spiritual person who expresses, his work draws on meditation and contemplation to create art that is not only visually stunning, but also emotionally moving. So again, we see abstraction in here, but one can also say this can be looking into a lake or into a water view and just seeing the movement of the ripples within the water and how the light reflects. Maybe there's moss in the water. Again, it's very soothing to look at, and I do sense the meditative aspect that TamHuy reflects upon in this artwork. And but again, it keeps our eyes moving. The whole gestural brush strokes that are very freely and almost musically done, and happily done as well. Okay, so look at the other piece is called Luminous Beginnings. So similar, but I feel like this time we move from the water into a little bit more like what's next to the water, maybe on the ground, on the land. So it looks like some kind of foliage, some plants, and I would say maybe a bit of like flowers too. There's definitely a floral theme happening here. Yellow flowers, could be fall, could be maybe there's some change of color as well. There definitely feels to me like a wind breeze is kind of like coming from the left to the right, creating a sense of movement. But again, there's a lot of happiness and joy reflected in TamHuy's approach to his artwork. One does sense that there's a lot of music. Maybe he's listening to music. So music is definitely reflective in his work. As he was saying that he sings Buddhist songs and the mantras that help him also meditate. Okay, and this one, this is actually one of my favorite from these three, more abstract, but again, we can say it's kind of a combination of both things we just saw, a bit of water, a bit of plants. So it could be that there's some, you're looking at the water and it's reflecting the environment around it, but also one can think that it's maybe a weeping tree or some ivy kind of going down into kind of the water frame for that matter. It reminds me a little bit of Monet's, like a very, very different take of Monet's, let's say, water lilies with a weeping tree reflecting on the water lilies with the leaves kind of falling into the branches almost falling into the water lilies. So it's a very different kind of look. I mean, I'm kind of like comparing it, of course, to Monet, but I'm just saying it reminds me more or less of Monet's work. And I'm imagining usually gestural work that is full of impressionistic strokes like this one. A lot of interrupted strokes can be reminiscent of impressionistic artists such as Monet. But again, this is wonderful composition, a lot of joy, a lot of happiness happening in the strokes that is reflective of the environment. Now we move on to Karl Bielik's work. Okay, so Karl is a British artist. He's actually multidisciplinary. He's also he also sings, and I believe he also acts, and he's also a director of a gallery in London. So he's definitely multidisciplinary in many aspects. So this one's called Dig, and it's an oil on canvas. It's a big piece. So Karl lives and works in London. His paintings have been exhibited in numerous shows in the UK and abroad, including the John Moores Painting Prize, the Royal Academy Summer Show, the WAC Art Contemporary, the B Painting Prize, the Marmite Prize, and the London Open. Bielik is a member of Contemporary British Painting and is the founder and director of Terrace Gallery in London. And he also writes and performs in Lark with Standard Lamp Records. So again, music is a big, big thing here as well with our reflective artist. So about the artwork, Karl Bielik makes visceral process-driven oil paintings where the surface evolves out of chance encounters between marks and color. The paintings are often heavily layered and reveal the history and doubt concepts. Bielik works on 30 or so paintings at a time that range from intimate to large. Drawings, diagrams, or photographs may inform the work in its formative stages, but essentially Bielik's work emerges from the physical process of painting. So one can also see a lot of, this is a large work, so one can feel that Karl is really immersed in the process of painting, and he loves the act of painting and the process of painting. One can clearly see it from the very free brush strokes that are almost feverishly done and with like very quick, I would say very quick action happening. So in a way, kind of, I wouldn't say action Jackson, but it has a little bit of that, lot of action driven artwork, a lot of energy. And again, complementary colors. I love the usage of the white to the left that gives relief, kind of relieves the eyes for what's happening in the piece. There's one can sense a lot of things happening. So it's reflective of many, many things. It can almost tell a story of a childhood and then growth. So this seems to be like multiple stages, like maybe childhood, maybe more adolescent, and then more moving into growth and maturity. So there are a lot of elements to this painting, very involved. And then we have another piece by Karl. It's called Soil. So this one I feel is more environmental in a sense, where going into nature and looking at taking a flower and just kind of almost dissecting it and looking at it and looking really into the flower and looking at the essence of the flower and trying to see how it's blooming, how it's flourishing, how it's growing. So I feel in a sense that with Karl's work, there's a recurring theme of, I would say, growth, maybe growth for him himself as a person, but also for him as an artist, and growing into branching out. There's a lot of like branching out into different things as well within the art forms. So, and then clearly there's a lot of movement. This one, 2024. So this is a very recent piece. It shows evolvement as well from the previous piece. So there's a lot of, I wouldn't say evolution, but there's a lot of evolvement, growth. I would say growth within the artwork itself. So it's definitely reflective of, I believe, what Karl is the person. So beautiful work, again, very strong work, very, very expressive. I think that's the right word. It's very expressive and full of deep meaning. Okay, so now we move to, I would say, photography and more of a digital photography, digital media with Glenn Wexler's work. So this one's called The Tree. It's actually, we have four photos of the tree, same tree, but kind of in a different environment. Okay, so this one, the first one that we're looking at, the tree with a Tokyo background. And this one is a digital photo. So a bit about Glenn. Glenn is a multidisciplinary artist, photographer, and he lives in Chicago. So he's a multidisciplinary photographer who creates urban-themed artwork and installations with a cultural and environmental awareness. When Wexler was a young teen, his best friend and him would often sneak onto the transit system to explore Chicago, where they discovered Chinatown. Looking down at the neighborhood from the train platform, Wexler was intrigued by Chinatown's architectural structure and people. Wexler states that it was as if we discovered another world. This was a life-changing moment. I was fascinated. It expanded my thinking. Years later, when I got my first camera, Chinatown was a place I consciously decided to document first. Since then, I have explored cities in the world, and I have gained profound inspiration in following my sense of curiosity and need for cultural discovery. This is the foundation for my creative process. And about the tree series, so this is a tree series. That's what the series is about. The tree series features a photo of a tree with an outline. The outline shows one that the tree is in full maturity as a reminder of both what is lost and what could be. The tree collection presents a number of sentiments, such as the depiction of isolation, along with emphasis on a place where the human impact on nature is evident, while also imparting the possibility of transformation and renewal. So here we see again recurring themes of like transformation, renewal, and but also being very vulnerable. In a sense, one can look at the tree, and the tree is, I mean, there are no leaves on the tree, right? The tree is a bit, I would say, a bit chopped. The branches are chopped. There are no green leaves. So the tree can look lonely, to be frank, in a sense where it's sitting in these urban environments. That can also look a bit, I would say, I wouldn't say isolated, but like uh, areas that are like the parking or spaces that might be not well visited, let's put it this way. So there's a lot of symbolism happening within the tree, and but also there is hope as well. So that contrast, kind of like going from what Glenn was saying, isolation, but then also there's renewal, because a tree in general does go through a lot. I mean, we see it with the four seasons. The trees do have to shed leaves, and now spring comes and they're like blossoming and blooming and looking beautiful. And then in the summer, it's green, and in the fall, they turn and the leaves turn and wither and die, let's put it this way. And then renewal all over again. In winter, they look really dead. But so it's the tree is in general, one can also say the tree of life. There's so many symbolism that have happened with trees, but trees are very essential in one's life in general. And without trees, we can't really live. So trees are very, very essential in a human's life. But also, I do believe that we as people, as human, we look at trees and in a way like to understand maybe our life or our yeah, I would say maybe our journey in life. And I do think just by looking at trees, that can be very reflective of and maybe helpful as well in helping one kind of move on or see that the tree itself goes through a lot. So the fact that, but then there's rebirth and there's renewal. So the tree does, how can we say, regrow, changes, and rejuvenates. Now springtime is coming, so it's like the best time to look at trees. But again, very thoughtful work, very reflective, beautiful work. Glenn is very, very accomplished and esteemed and artist, and we're very happy to have him in the exhibition. Like like all the artists as well. So now beyond, now my work. So, okay, a little bit about me for those who don't know. Okay, so I've been doing art for also many years, even decades. I also teach art classes for adults, teach fine art classes and painting in the DC area. I've also lived internationally as well. So for those who don't know much about me, I'm an expressionist artist, and I've exhibited in group and solo exhibitions in museums and key galleries in major cities such as New York City, LA, DC, London, Berlin. And my artwork has been on display in Times Square and Broadway, New York City, and the United Nations, the Sam Museum in Pennsylvania, the National Liberty Museum in Philadelphia. Right now I have artwork there on display. And the Medina Celi, the Art Museum Contemporary in Spain. Right now I have artwork there on display as well. And I'm a notable alumni from the Corcoran College of Art and Design and George Washington University from DC. And I've been featured vastly in magazines and also in literary journals and in books. And my artwork can be found online if you go to my website as well. More to see there. And about this piece. So this one's called Blue Breeze, and it is, again, one of my favorite colors, which is blue. And people always ask me, why do you like blue so much? And I'm like, I don't know, it's my favorite color. So I guess, I don't know if that's a good answer to say, but it is, I love the sea, I love the water, and I love the sky, and they're blue. And for me, when I look at blue, I feel good. It's very soothing. It makes me feel at peace. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel there's the openness of the blue sky and the openness of the blue ocean that makes me feel comfortable. And so there are many aspects to why I like the color blue. And there's so many variations to the color blue too. So this one's called Blue Breeze. It embodies a depiction of the interaction of the human senses along with the emotions felt when looking at the sea. The sense of movement is in the air, is depicted in the fresh breeze that one experiences when being by the sea. In addition, the visual senses of taking in the calming blue tones of the ocean are presented in the painting's creation and reinforced in the title. The painting is executed through my signature blue hues, expressive abstract touch, and very much painterly touch. I'm a painter, so I think that's why I like to paint. I love the painterly aspects of the colors and the pigments and the texture. And that's one of the main reasons, honestly, why I like to paint is I like to feel the texture and the interaction of colors and just the heaviness sometimes of the medium itself. I like that look of the painting aspect. And and I like the expression also of what it does. So this piece is called Electric. So this was in a series called The New Wave and done in 2019. It reflects on my love for the big blue and its temperament, and which is signature of my abstracted minimal and expressionistic work. And so to see the world through my eyes, I said, to see the horizon line and to feel the wind breeze, the time of the day, the waves splashing at the edge of the water, to feel the heaviness of the night and the lightness of the day, to play with the brush strokes and to go on a painter's journey through my eyes is attained when viewing my work, or that's what I hope the viewer attains when looking at my work. So that's how I reflect. I love the things that I like bring them to my artwork. And again, the ocean and the sky are one of the main things that I like in the environment and in my surroundings. So, okay, now we move on to Jaume Llorens, who is a Spanish artist, a photographer, and I was very much drawn into his photography because I feel that his photography kind of goes beyond photography and goes more into like fine art and has many elements to it that I enjoy looking at. So a bit about Jaume Llorens. He was born in Catalonia in Spain, and he has been passionate about photography ever since he was a teenager. He's been well exhibited, a very accomplished photographer at Lens Culture Group Exhibition at Photo London 2023, and the Foundation of Volvi in Girona, and the Valid Photo Gallery in Barcelona. Many awards, such as top pick for the Lens Culture Critics' Choice Award in just last year, 2023, and the top 50 at the Photo Lucida Critical Mass, and also at the Lens Culture Black and White Awards. A lot of international photography awards, through also Janssen, National Photography Competition Janssen, Infinity as well. Llorens says about his work that he says my photography captures serene moments in nature, honoring its beauty and emotional resonance. I convey these feelings subtly, often reflecting my own inner landscape. I favor minimalist images that are suggestive rather than explanatory. It brings me great joy when viewers find traces of poetry in my work. Maybe that's what I found. I love poetry as well, and I actually describe my artwork as a form of visual poetry, and I find that with Lawrence's works, similar, where the artwork is very has a very lyrical, poetic. I would say a romantic. One can say romantic feel, a different kind of romantic feel. I mean, it's black and white. The photos that we have here in the reflective exhibition, but again, they're clearly very reflective. So the theme of reflection is like really seen in his work. The reason why I said I feel like he merged or he transitioned from like a regular, I would say, photography or an excellent photographer to even a higher realm into more fun art photography is because he combines. So there's a lot of creativity involved, not just going and capturing a beautiful thing and capturing the essence or the moment of that time. There's more, there's skill. So this is almost like a diptych of two things combined together, where we see a lot of elements reflecting in just the photo to the left in regards to the photo to the right, a lot of the ripples and the roundness, the shape of the circular movement as well. There's a lot of movement. It's very simple. Almost one can say it's minimal. But again, in this minimalism, there's a lot of beauty. There's a lot of reflection in a sense where you feel that the artist is sitting and looking and reflecting on his surroundings and his environment. And Llorens is very much a nature lover as well. He lives by Banyoles Lake, where he grew up, and his choice of residence at this time as well. And he also just had an interview with us at VB Cultural Platform, so that you can read more about him and his practice in the interview section on VB Contemporary on our website. Also, AJ Belmont has been interviewed, and you can know more about AJ, also creative practice and process, and read both of the artist stories in our interview section within our website. Okay, so this work is another Belmont's, it's another Jaume Llorens's work, and it's also a diptych, number 37. So these are recent, done last year, 2023. And beautiful, again, a lot of reflective elements happening here. The choice of very limited palette, black and white. And also, as well, the diptych number 87, that's very, I feel that there's a lot of, in my opinion, romance also when I look at the photography of Llorens's photography. There's a lot of movement, and there's a lot of almost capturing the quickness of the time or the moment, or what quickly happened, the breeze going through the beautiful flowers. And so there's a lot of, but then again, deciding to almost be very minimal and saying, okay, this is what we really need to focus on. We really need to focus on the fleetness of the moment, as well as the beauty of the flowers, and maybe just within that moment, within that present moment, just looking at the flowers and enjoying them. So there's a lot of reflection in that sense as well. Okay, and I think we have everybody. I believe so. Yeah, we have everyone. Okay, so the exhibit is up, is ongoing, and it will stay up till April 15 on our website, which is vbcontemporary.com. Please visit and have a look and enjoy each artist's artwork and their reflective elements in each person's work. And you can, again, read more about each artwork within visiting our website. And thank you, AJ, very much for joining us today as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was great to be here.
Wonderful. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You too.